You are listening to the Adult Sabbath School lessons for the third quarter of 2022. This is lesson number 7 of the Adult Sabbath School Bible Study Guide in the Crucible with Christ. The lesson is titled Indestructible Hope and is ready for teaching on August 13. The author is Pastor Gavin Anthony, who was conference president in Iceland when he wrote this series of lessons. Today, your lesson is read by Dr. Percy Harrold. Friday, August 12. From the book Prophets and Kings, page 162, written by Ellen White, we read, "Into the experience of all there come times of keen disappointment and utter discouragement, days when sorrow is the portion, and it is hard to believe that God is still the kind benefactor of his earthborn children. Days when troubles harass the soul till death seems preferable to life. It is then that many lose their hold on God and are brought into the slavery of doubt, the bondage of unbelief. Could we at such times discern with spiritual insight the meaning of God's providences, we should see angels seeking to save us from ourselves, striving to plant our feet upon a foundation more firm than the everlasting hills, and new faith, new life would spring into being." End of quote. And that brings us to our 5 discussion questions for this week. 1. Ellen G. White says that all of us experience times of keen disappointment and utter discouragement. How well do we notice each other as we go through such times? How can we better learn to be agents of hope for each other when we experience such bitter disappointments? 2. As a class, go over your answers to Tuesday's final question. What difference did it make in your life as you kept the reality of God's nearness ever before you? 3. In class, read aloud sections in Job chapter 38, 39, 40 and 41. What kind of picture of God does it present? What do you learn that gives you hope and encouragement? How does the Sabbath fit into this picture? How does it help keep before us the nature and character of God? 4. Hope that transforms comes from heaven. This means that we can pray for hope to be brought into each other's lives. Spend some time praying for those whose hope has been faltering recently, that their hope may be renewed. More than that, what can you do for others who are in a losing struggle to find hope? And 5. If someone is willing, ask that person to recount a time that despair and trials caused him or her to lose hope and faith. What turned that person around? What can we share with one another that can help when we are in times of doubt and despair? Inside Story. And here's Sibylla reading the 7th part of our continuing mission story for this quarter. Thank you, Sibylla.
Father Surrenders, Part 7 by Andrew McChesney. 4 days after Junior's baptism, evil spirits ordered Father to kill his family. Otherwise, they warned Junior and Mother would destroy him because they were praying for him. For the first time, Father mustered up the courage to talk back. "How?" he asked. "Aren't our prayers more powerful?" The spirits backed down and told Father to leave his home in Manaus, Brazil. They told him to take a boat to one of the 5 cities where Candomblé priests were waiting for him. But when Father sought to buy a boat ticket, none were available to those cities. The only tickets were to Kauai. Remembering an uncle in Kauai, Father decided to sail there. Uncle Cesario Ferreira was thrilled to see Father, and he organized a family reunion. Father didn't know the relatives well, but he confided that a spiritual conflict had erupted at home. 92-year-old Aunt Teresa patted him on the shoulder. "Son, it's time for you to give up," she said. "You have been serving evil spirits your whole life. Now it's time to serve God." Father looked shocked. "Are you a Protestant Christian?" he asked, remembering that the evil spirits had told him to stay away from them. Aunt Teresa smiled and motioned toward the other relatives, who also were smiling. "Son, we're all Protestant Christians," she said. The next day, Father worriedly called a temple priest for advice. Uncle Cesario, who was preparing breakfast, overheard the conversation. After Father hung up, he said, "Son, did you know that Jesus cast out evil spirits?" "How did he do that?" Father asked. For the next 3 days, Uncle Cesario read Bible stories about how Jesus cast out evil spirits. On the 4th day, he told about the man possessed by a legion of evil spirits in Mark 5, verses 1 to 19. Father was surprised that the spirits told Jesus, "My name is Legion, for we are many," in verse 9. "That's true," he said. "When I went to the church for Junior's baptism, I went with a legion of evil spirits." The 5th day, Uncle Cesario didn't tell any stories. Father was afraid to ask why, and he went for a long walk. That evening, he became upset when a temple priest called him to ask for help securing animals for sacrifices. "Let the spirits be the sacrifice," he blurted out. "They commanded me to kill my own son. Solve your own problems without me." Father, still upset, sat down at the temple for supper. "Son," Uncle Cesario said, "did you know that the devil killed Job's own son and other children?" Father had never heard of Job, and he wept as he heard the story from the Bible. At the end, Father said, "I've made a decision. I'll leave Candomblé and get to know the Adventists' God. Please pray. The devil will try to kill me." The next day, Father returned home and announced his decision to Mother. "I'm willing to follow your God," he said.
This lesson was read by Dr. Percy Harrold for Christian Services for the Blind. Sponsored by the Sabbath School Department and distributed through Hope Channel Australia, this podcast is also redistributed by Hope Channel Germany, Christian Record Services for the Blind. It is also available on SoundCloud and through multiple podcast distributors, including Apple iTunes. And you can listen and watch at the same time on YouTube. Remember, God is always faithful.